Hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast episode of Andy's Witchcraft by me, Sacred Moon. I hope you're all having a wonderful beginning of spring, and hopefully that weather is warming up. Here in Canada, it's been snowing, and I am not, that's not the vibe. I don't like it, and I really hope it will stop. But yeah, so... and if you hear any wind in the background, it is a very windy day, so I apologize for that in advance. Anyways, today's episode, we are going to discuss inner child work and how I practice it as a ChristoPagan Buddhist. I'm really excited about this. I feel like lately I've been really diving into talking about my personal life and my craft in such deep personal ways. With the past two episodes being about my experiences in Alcoholics Anonymous and my experiences dealing with grief. And I figured I'd continue that trend of vulnerability and just being personal with you guys. And I'm totally for it. And so what better way than inner child work? So let's get started, shall we? You may be wondering if you're a beginner witch or just a beginner of life in general. But you're wondering, what the heck is inner child work? Inner child work is a form of therapy or workings in which you reconnect with your inner child. And that may not help you a lot because you're like, okay, well, what is the inner child? Well, don't worry, I'm going to tell you. The inner child is a metaphorical part of a person that is frozen in childhood. This part still clings to the emotions, the beliefs, and the memories that they had at that time. It's the part of our mind that stores all our emotional experiences from our childhood, and there's psychological patterns that we developed as a child that still continue with us throughout our lives. A little quote that I found during my research for this episode: your kid within is part of your personality that still reacts and feels like a child. Now, I don't want you guys to confuse this with age regression. Those are two separate concepts, two different things. Not all age regressors do inner child work, and not everyone that does inner child work is an age regressor. So get that idea out of your mind. Do your research if you want more clarification. And yeah. When people grow up in a healthy environment, when I say healthy, I mean emotionally stable, they feel safe and secure, they're comfortable going to their legal guardians or their parents for anything, and they have positive parenting relationships and even positive relationships with siblings or anyone that lives in the household, grandparents, whoever lives with you. Basically, when you grow up in that environment, your inner child is going to flourish to its full potential. Studies have shown that adults with a well-developed inner child have stable self-esteem, a positive appreciation of their relationships, and an optimistic view of the future. A person who is grounded on a true, healthy self may be able to bounce back from challenging situations relatively quickly and without much distress being felt. However, not everyone is that lucky, and some people grow up in a very unstable environment and quote-unquote mommy and daddy issues, and this can lead to a lot of long-term negative impacts. And this is when inner child work comes into play to address those situations and remedy them. So now I want to talk about signs that you may need inner child work. And these are signs I've experienced, they're signs that I found through my research, and they're signs that friends have shared with me that they believe I should talk about. If you are a people pleaser and find it challenging to create and maintain boundaries, you may need inner child work. If you criticize yourself or constantly are hard on yourself for any little mistake you make, you may need inner child work. If you don't feel like you have a stable sense of identity and you don't know who you are or what you're doing with your life, you may need inner child work. If you find it hard to commit to yourself or to others and trust yourself or others or your higher power, whatever, you may need inner child work. If you are very unforgiving to yourself and you feel so much guilt and resentment towards yourself and others, you may need inner child work. If you have abandonment issues and cling to toxic relationships and you can't let go, you may need inner child work. If you relate to your loved ones with an insecure attachment style, and basically there's attachment theories. If you want to Google it and learn about it, look up John Bowlby's attachment styles and Mary Ainsworth's attachment style theories. You can learn more about it. But if you relate to the insecure attachment style, you may need inner child work. If you are repeating the same unhealthy parenting strategies that your caregivers used on you during your childhood, you may need inner child work. If you feel afraid of opening up and talking about your feelings with other people, even in intimate relationships, you may need inner child work. If you become too reactive when your coworkers or managers give you feedback for improvement and you don't handle critiques well, you may need inner child work. And if you constantly feel anxious, worried, or afraid in social situations, guess what? You may need inner child work. Those are kind of the main signs. I don't like to call them red flags because that just has a negative connotation. But let's just say yellow flags. Those are like the yellow flags that are typically raised and indicate that you may need inner child work in your life. And this, if you relate to any of those, then stick around. This podcast episode can help you get started on that journey. Now, let's talk about why inner child work is so important. Inner child therapy allows adult clients to address past wounds by understanding the needs they had as a child and how they can provide that to themselves as an adult. This type of therapy often involves acceptance, self-love, and self-compassion on the path to inner child healing. Inner child traumas are wounded parts of ourselves, and they still contribute to how we deal with things in our everyday life as adults or teenagers or whatever. How we experienced the world back then shaped our belief system and our relationships and our lives in various ways: personal, professional, financial, A great part of that belief system still operates within us, and it shows us how we perceive reality. And this can lead to harmful or maladaptive behaviors. So, for example, because of my childhood trauma, I maladaptive daydream. I daydream things that I really, really shouldn't as a coping mechanism to escape my reality, because that's all I did as a child. I wanted to escape reality, and I maladaptive daydreamed, and it got me through life. And now as an adult, I still do that. And it's a constant struggle that's been around since as early as the age of 9, I can remember. Those are my earliest memories of maladaptive daydreaming. And it's something I'm trying really hard to overcome and heal from, because I don't want to run away from reality anymore. I want to face it. But the key to doing that for me is inner child work and inner child healing. And eventually, one day, I hope that I won't do it anymore, and that I can be at peace with myself. Basically, identifying and resolving harmful beliefs is what inner child work is all about. You want to understand your inner child because it will help you understand the issues that are causing you problems as an adult. So you're really pinpointing what is not benefiting you as an adult. Studies have shown that inner child work can help you understand why you have negative thought patterns and how they originated in the first place. Discover your repressed and negative emotions that are causing you problems in life. Understand how your bad childhood experiences shaped your perception and how some of your major beliefs are not in accordance with reality. Find ways to increase self-love and self-care. Feel safe in your body and home. Feel able to be alone and independent. Gain personal power and ability to set boundaries. Attain self-confidence and feel able to parent and care for yourself. Feel connected with yourself. Forgiveness of those who have harmed you, including caregivers or parents, as well as yourself. And imagine an ideal childhood in a healthy way. So, very clearly, the research doesn't lie. Inner child work is crucial. It is a form of shadow work. You're looking at the parts of yourself that you do not like. And these parts of yourself stems from your childhood. And that's how I think of it. I think of it as a subtype of shadow work. And it's been a wild journey, but it has helped me. And I'm really hoping it'll help you too. Now I want to talk about inner child symbols and associations. And these are going to vary from individual to individual because it all depends on what symbols remind you of your childhood and remind you of your inner child. But examples can include childhood toys, blankets, pictures, objects, people. My mother got rid of all my childhood toys and blankets, and I am still mad about it. Because I want so hard to have those things to be able to connect to my inner child. And I didn't get that chance. I came home one day from school and it was all gone. It sucked. It's like I lost all those memories. And even though they weren't good memories, I feel like if I had those things, I could recreate my ideal childhood self in a safe way. I could connect to my inner child in an easier way. Music from your childhood is also another thing. For me, it is Taylor Swift's country music era. One Direction, 5 Seconds of Summer, Black Veil Brides. I know one of these is not like the others. I get it. But those were the main bands I listened to as a child. And yeah, those are the music that I listen to when I need to connect to my inner child. TV shows and movies from your childhood can also count. For me, it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Little Mermaid, Monsters Incorporated, The Lion King, and Toy Story. Those were kind of like my top 5. Yeah, that's 5. Top 5 movies and TV shows that I would watch as a child. And SpongeBob. How could I forget SpongeBob? Oh my gosh, that's my number 1. That is my go-to thing with SpongeBob SquarePants. So rewatching these TV shows and movies is kind of a bonding experience with my inner child. That's kind of like what I do to connect to them. I'll throw on the shows and say, hey, little one within me, how are you feeling today? Food and drinks from your childhood can also count. And this works double for us witches because it's like kitchen witchery and inner child healing all at once. For me, I like to make tang juice, and it's so simple. You know, it's the orange juice powder, and you mix it with water, and that's the easiest thing to do. And I'll stir my intentions in there as I mix the powder in the water. And the reason that this is such a concrete representation of my inner child is because it reminds me of the happy times when my late grandmother would babysit me as a child. She would always make me tang. And we had this language barrier. She only spoke Arabic and I did not understand a word of the language. And it was very difficult. But at the same time, she was willing to babysit me and she was willing to take care of me. And she loved me and she cared for me and all her grandkids. And making that tang juice just helps me reconnect to that time. A time where an adult, a parent figure really, she was a mother figure, showed me love and compassion that I didn't get from my own biological parents. And so I really like to make tang juice to help bond with my inner child and just think back to those happy times. Herbs and essential oils for healing your inner child. These can include rosemary, lemon balm, chamomile, peppermint, roses, lavender. By the way, lavender is my favorite herb, so yes, and St. John's wort. So if you want to use any of these things, rub the essential oil on you, or spread herbs around to connect with your inner child. Those are examples of some of the herbs that you can use for that. And finally, deities and spiritual entities. These are ones you can work with that are really good for inner child work or healing in general, like emotional healing. And so these include Jesus, Saint Dymphna, Asherah, Athena, Apollo, Aphrodite, Dionysus, Freya, Gaia, Hermes, Hecate, Artemis, Aletheia, Demeter, Cephissus, Asclepius, Asclepius. Persephone, basically any Greek deity with the epithet Kurotrophos, they're known for protecting children. And so they're good for inner child healing for that reason. Also, Kshitigarbha, which is the Bodhisattva in Buddhism, Loki, and Isis. So those are all some deities and spiritual entities that are really good for protecting children, for emotional healing, and just helping you feel safe and secure. Now, I'd like to talk about the Bible and inner child work. This is my favorite topic because Jesus, in a non-creepy way, don't worry, was very connected to the children in the community. And he always served as a role model for them. And so there are tons of Bible verses that indicate the importance of taking care of children and protecting them and making them feel safe and secure. The first one I have here are Psalm chapter 127, verse 3. Children are a gift from the Lord. They are a reward from him. Next, we have Proverbs 17, chapter 17, verse 6. Children's children are a crown to the aged, and parents are the pride of their children. We also have Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. And that's really, I like that Bible verse a lot. I just wanted to stop and say, because it really shows, when he is old, he will not depart from it. That's showing the impacts of the way you treat a child to how they grow up. And that's literally what in the whole concept of inner child work is. It's the fact that we have these old wounds that have impacted us to this day, that we can't depart from to this day. And that verse really hits that point. Next, we have Matthew chapter 18, verses 1-3. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus saying, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" And calling to him a child, he put him in the midst of them and said, "Truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." Basically saying that we want childlike faith, not in the sense that we don't know what's going on or we're not able to process this knowledge, not in that sense, but in the sense that we can rely and trust on God, on Yahweh, your higher power, whatever. Even if you're not a Christian witch, if you're just a witch who works with other deities, to trust in your deities and your spirit team like a child should trust their parent. They should. It's not always the case, obviously. That's why inner child work is so important, because it's not always the case. But it is important. And I love that verse for that. Next, we have Matthew chapter 19, verse 14. Jesus said, "Let the children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." Then we have Mark chapter 9, verses 36-37. And he took a child and put him in the midst of them, and taking him in his arms, he said to him, "Whoever receives one such child in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives not me, but him who sent me." Next, we have Mark chapter 10, verses 15-16. "I tell you the truth. Anyone who doesn't receive the kingdom of God like a child will never enter it." Then he took the children in his arms and placed his hands on their head and blessed them. Next, we have Isaiah chapter 54, verse 13. "All your children shall be taught by the Lord, and great shall be the peace of your children." I love that verse because trusting in Yahweh and worshiping him and working with him and participating in my craft with him, that has healed my inner child so much. So much of my trauma is gone now because of the blessings of Yahweh and the blessings that he let my spirit team give me. And I am forever grateful for that. And I just want that message to get across, that I don't trust my parents, my biological parents. I will never be able to trust them fully. But Yahweh, I can trust. and I could trust him, and my inner child can trust him. And I think that's a very crucial part of that. Not just that my adult self can feel that sense of trust, but my inner child who went through all this crap can still trust in him. Next, we have 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 2-3. Like newborn babies, crave pure spiritual milk, so that by it you may grow up in your salvation, now that you have tasted that the Lord is good. And finally, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 16. Therefore, we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. There are so many more examples of the importance of inner child work. And a lot of them relate to children, but a lot of them also focuses on emotional healing. Healing your heart. Do not lose heart. And it says, outwardly we are wasting away. So yeah, we're growing older, but inwardly we're being renewed. Inwardly we are healing. Emotional healing is crucial. Inner child work is crucial. It is biblical. Nobody can tell me otherwise. It is a biblical concept as well. Next, since I am a ChristoPagan Buddhist, I want to talk about inner child work in Buddhism. Let's talk a little bit about this. We're going to go into psychology. I love psychology. There's a reason it was one of my majors in my bachelor's degree. There's a reason I'm going into the mental health field, and it's because I love psychology with a passion. And knowing that I can incorporate my knowledge of it into my craft is amazing. It's truly amazing, and it's a blessing, and it's an honor and a privilege, and I love it. So, without further ado, let's talk about it. Buddhist psychology divides the consciousness into two parts. One part is called mind consciousness, and the other is called store consciousness. Mind consciousness is our active consciousness. It's our active awareness. Western psychology will call it the conscious mind. So it's conscious. To cultivate the energy of right mindfulness, we have to engage our active awareness in all our activities and be truly present with whatever we are doing. We want to be mindful as we drink our tea or drive through the city, or as I record this podcast episode, be mindful of my present actions. Store consciousness is also called root consciousness. It is the base of our consciousness. Wow, I said that word so many times there. And in Western psychology, it's called the unconscious mind. It's where all our past experiences are stored, and it has the capacity to learn and process information when we allow it to. And that's the key word, when we allow it to. Because if we keep things in the unconscious and we keep it hidden away and we don't deal with it, we can't process the information. We don't even know it's there. Some of us may want to end our suffering by hiding our inner child in a deep place inside, our store consciousness. And we want to stay as far away as possible and not deal with it and just focus on the present moment, literally, as an adult. But running away doesn't end our suffering, and it only prolongs it, really. Ignorance is in each cell of our body and our consciousness. And that ignorance stops us from seeing reality. That's denial. It pushes us to do things that make us suffer even more and wounds us again and again. And especially our already wounded child in us, it wounds even more. Our inner child feels more unloved and ashamed because we're hiding it away. We're not dealing with it. That part of us who's felt rejected for so long, imagine if you're still rejecting them. That's hurtful. That's harmful. That's suffering there. In Buddhist practice, the best way to connect to the inner child is through integration. In integration, we are called to give attention, love, and energy to our inner child. Just as we need to give attention to any child that we are trying to raise. This is called wise attention. We strive to bring our inner child up to our mind consciousness, and through wise attention, direct that focus to the core, I hit myself, to the core or essence of a particular matter or phenomenon in order to acquire a deep understanding of its true nature. It's important, it's crucial to mindfully tend to our inner growth. We want to learn how to heal our childhood woundings, love our inner child, and let go of our past traumas. In Buddhism, attachment is a big no-no. It's the cause of suffering. And in this case, we are attaching ourselves to our traumas. We're not letting them go. We're holding on to them for dear life. And by going through inner child work, we can learn to detach and let go. And that is how inner child work correlates with Buddhist practice. Buddhist principles align with the fact that you have to talk to your child, your inner child, several times a day. Only then can your healing take place. It's not a one and done thing. It's not a 2-minute thing. It's a process. It's a ritual every day, several times a day. You want to embrace your inner child, reassure them that you're never going to let them down again or leave them unattended, that they are loved, that they are cared for, that they are important, that they have purpose in this life. You have purpose in this life. And that little child who was left alone for so long never, ever will be again. And that's why you need to practice this right away. Because if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? All of this aligns with the Eightfold Path, right mindfulness. And again, you could always check out my Eightfold Path episode to learn more. But for those of you who think witchcraft and Buddhism, they don't align. Yes, they do. Inner child work is magic. That's witchcraft. And it also is mindfulness. It's healing, it's spiritual, it's everything. I'm going to end this episode off with ways that you could practice inner child work. These are just suggestions. You do what works best for you. You find what works best for you. Explore, do trial and error, whatever you want to do. But the first option here is to acknowledge your inner child. Now that's an obvious one, but I'm going to dive in deeper as to how we can acknowledge your inner child. You want to understand your unmet emotional needs and how they affected your youth. So reconnect with your inner child. Try to remember what things brought you pleasure when you were a child. Do things that you enjoyed back then. For me, it's running in the rain. It's bike riding. It's playing basketball. It's reading novels. I just started reading again, and for the longest time I wondered, why does reading bring me so much pleasure? And it's because it connects me to my inner child. Reading was everything. It was a coping mechanism, which may explain the maladaptive daydreaming, the escape from reality into a fictional world, but we're gonna slide past that for now. But I do these things to connect to my inner child. I do these things to heal. Another thing to really acknowledge your inner child is to ask. Ask that part of you, what do you need? And give them that. During one of my therapy sessions, my therapist asked me, what did you need as a child? I said I needed someone to hear me and to believe me. So he told me to imagine my childhood self coming to me now, to my adult self, with their emotions and feelings. To look at my childhood self and listen and validate them. And he told me, say this out loud. I believe you. And I'm so sorry you're going through this. And I did that. And I cried. And it was emotional. but I felt so much relief from that. So I would recommend that for you. Don't be afraid of tears. Don't be afraid of emotions. Heal that inner child because they deserve it and you deserve it. Tell your inner child this: in the past, I left you alone. I went away from you. Now I am very sorry. I am going to embrace you. Or you could say, darling, I am here for you. I will take good care of you. I know you suffer so much. I have been so busy. I have neglected you. And now I have learned a way to come back to you. And if necessary, like I said, take a moment to take some deep breaths. Let the emotions out, however they come out. Anger, punch a pillow, tears, joy, relief, let it all out. Let those emotions out. And whenever you need to, sit with your child, with your inner child, and just sit in silence if that's what you need. That's okay too. But if you do this breathing exercise where you take deep breaths, you could say to yourself, breathing in, I go back to my wounded child. Breathing out, I take good care of my wounded child. I love those suggestions so much. It has changed my whole perspective of life. The second way you can do inner child work is to show a child in your life the love and compassion you needed as a child. Whether you're a parent or a cousin or a sister or a brother or whatever, even a neighbor. Show a child in your life whatever they need. I have 3 little cousins who I love with all my heart. I have way more little cousins than that, but 3 that I'm super, super close with. Their ages, I believe they're 8, 6, and 4. Yes, 8, 6, and 4. And I love them with all my heart and soul. And every day I show them love and compassion. Even when they're annoyed with me, I show them that affection that they deserve. And their parents are very good. Their parents show them love and affection, and I could see them growing up well. But I like to do that as well, as an extra guarantee that people love and care for them, not just their parents. There are people out there that care. The third advice I have for you is to be gentle to yourself. Be compassionate towards your inner child. Pay attention to their insecurities and fears and how they respond to these thoughts. Give your inner child, a better environment with better solutions to their problem. Give them what they deserved to have experienced and not what they actually did experience, which was probably a lot of trauma and fears and regrets. Consider telling your inner child any of the following. 1, you deserve to have your needs met. 2, I will defend you now. 3, you were too little to go through that, and you're safe now. 4, I will keep you in my heart. The fourth thing you can do to do some inner child work is to be mindful of your triggers. Understand what causes your deepest emotions to come out and be aware of them. Don't avoid them because, again, avoidance just prolongs suffering, but find ways to confront them and to face your fears and to let them go. The fifth advice I have is to get in touch with a therapist. This is a very mundane thing to do, but a therapist can guide you through meditations and spiritual practices that can help you heal your inner child. They can also help you heal from any traumas that are way too severe to go to heal from alone. For me, my parents were very anti-therapy. I could not see a therapist until I turned 18 and no longer needed their consent. But as soon as I turned 18, I started therapy and I gave myself that space to heal that I so desperately needed back then. And that, number one, not only was that good for my mental health and my sanity, but it healed my inner child because, again, my inner child needed therapy but could not get therapy. And now they did get it. So if that's what your inner child needs, that's what your inner child needs. The sixth advice I have for you is to connect with imagination and creativity. Examples can be painting, coloring your driveway with chalk, drawing, doing connect the dots sheets, coloring books, playing video games, whatever. Reading books, that's imagination. Doing these things can definitely help because they're like childlike wonder. Basically, try to reinvigorate that childlike wonder. 7, cord cutting ritual to cut the bonds you have from your childhood traumas. Now we're diving into the witchy stuff. Cord cutting rituals. I did a cord cutting ritual, not for my inner child self, but like for another bond, my ex workplace. I needed to let go of that connection. And yeah, that helped a lot. Oh my God. As soon as I did it, yes, I was still sad that I lost my job, but I was able to let go of that connection so quickly. And I plan on doing this for my childhood traumas because that helped a lot. And I want to let go. And I want to forgive and move on, you know? Number 8, inner child divination readings with your spirit teams. I love oracle card readings for inner child work more than tarot. So that's usually what I do. I use the oracle deck called Affirmations of the Fairy Cats by Brenda June Sadak. That's just, number 1, I love cats. I've always loved cats since I was a child. And number 2, fairies. I worked with the Fae for a while. Now I just venerate them and give them offerings and thank them for protecting our earth. Not thank them, not literally thanking them, but like appreciate them. Show my appreciation for the work that they've done. But yeah, I used to love, my nickname in grade school was Pixie. My friends called me Pixie-chan. We were all anime geeks. Them more than me, but still. And so cats, fairies, like combined, those brought back childhood memories. So that oracle deck is amazing for my inner child healing. I'm also going to link below some inner child tarot spreads that you can use. Those links are going to be in the description, so check them out. They can help. Or optionally, if you really love and appreciate me, you could purchase an inner child reading from me if that's something that you are interested in, maybe. The link to my divination reading shop will be in the Linktree link below. I would really, really appreciate it if you guys could support my small business and purchase a reading from me. Thank you. Bonus points, by the way, for doing divination readings with your spirit team or with your own inner child, is getting in the habit of journaling these readings. So, some journaling prompts that I will discuss in a moment, but get in the habit of journaling. Okay, these are the cards I pulled, this is how they made me feel, and these are the thoughts that came up, and this is what my takeaway from it, and this is how I'm going to follow this reading in my everyday life or whatever. But journaling is very, very therapeutic, and it's a very good way of doing inner child work. And finally, number 9, like I said, journaling prompts. So not just journaling about your divination readings, but journaling about your childhood. So these are some questions I'm going to ask, and choose to journal, choose to just reflect in your mind, whatever you want. What were the toughest experiences you had during your childhood? And how did you cope with them? How were your relationships with your parents or any other significant adults in your life? How would you assess your life as a child in general? What is something you can do today to honor the rejected parts of your inner child? And I love that. I'm planning on doing those journaling prompts eventually when I feel okay. I have a lot of journaling to do between my sobriety and going through the 12 steps and my own daily divination readings that I do with my spirit team. And I plan on doing more journaling prompts like this. It's just a lot right now, and that's okay. But I will get around to it eventually, and we'll take it from there. So that is the end of this episode. Thank you for sticking around and listening for as long as you guys did. I love and appreciate you all so, so, so much. Thank you for listening. Couple of closing things, I guess. If you like this episode and you are listening on YouTube, give it a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're listening to it on Spotify, give it a follow. Or you could follow me on social media for any updates or any. You could see posts on my personal life, my craft, my spiritual journey, and all that jazz. You could totally do that. I would love to. You could even DM me. I've had a couple of you listeners message me, and that means the world to me. I love getting messages from you guys. So thank you so much for your support. You know who you are. I much appreciate it. And that my social media pages are also in the link tree below. If you have a video idea, you want me to do a podcast episode on a certain topic that hopefully I'll have some knowledge on, you can go to the link tree below, click the video ideas, a Google form page, fill it out, and I will do an episode on it as soon as I can. I would love to hear what you guys want from these episodes in the future. If you want to join a community of witches of all paths, not just Christian witches, not just Buddhist witches, but witches from all sorts of ways and crafts and all that, you could join my Discord server, Crystal Caverns. That is in the link tree below as well. We would love to have you and get to know you and build a community with you. So please do join. And I think that's about it. Like I said earlier, if you want to support my business and you want to support me in making videos possible and keeping up with tuition costs, since I'm going back to school in September and tuition is going to cost a fortune, you could buy a divination reading from me. That will be in the link tree below. You book it via the Goldie site and then you PayPal me the payment. And very much appreciate everyone who has bought a reading from me so far. Thank you guys so, so much for your support. It means the universe to me. Thank you. And now that's about it. Thank you so much for listening this far. Thank you guys for sticking around and supporting me. I love you all. Blessed be everyone. Have a wonderful day, week, month, and year.